Stalky boy back with another video within your walls. As I'm writing this, it is currently 4 in the morning. I have actually just been tossing and turning with ideas about the Michael Myers changes. Which, yeah, if you didn't know, Behavior confirmed that we are going to be getting changes for Myers once again. This time specifically saying that these changes will be going over his base kit. Shoutouts to Joker Dwight, a regular viewer of the channel. He asked the question in their most recent Q&A. I'm not entirely sure as to why it took a few weeks for the idea of these base kit Myers changes, the process that they're happening for me. Somehow it just got buried in the back of my mind and then it just hit me. Oh yeah, Michael is getting changed and he's getting changed soon. Of course, soon in the video game world could be a few months or half a year, but since we're talking about Myers, it's usually safe to say that it'll be happening sometime around October. Last year, we saw Myers get changed in the very early winter, right after October. So maybe that's when these changes will be happening. Whatever these changes are, I really just need to get my ideas out so that I can finally go to sleep. It's like the Green Goblin mask, just constantly hovering over me, screaming at me to address it. Last year, Myers was confirmed to only be getting simple buffs, while it seems they want to be actually changing it as to how Myers plays this time around. So, here's my idea. I want to start off by saying that I want to get rid of Michael's evil limit entirely. We're going to be changing how the stalking works a little bit. Survivors will still start from the white to red, but it's going to perform a bit differently. When coming up with a sort of rework, I wanted to make it more fun for both the killer and the survivor. A common survivor complaint is that they don't like Michael just sneaking up and instantly murdering them without warning. So I have a bit of an idea to alleviate that a little bit. Evil will now be unique to a survivor, but not like how Ghostface is. When Michael still gets tier 3, it will still expose all survivors. I don't want to take that away from him, because if Michael just stalked individually, he would just be a better Ghostface. I still want Myers to retain what makes him unique, and I don't want to alienate Michael players. So now when a survivor is stalked, they will gain levels on evil. Think of it similarly to Sadako's Condemned. There will be 4 points of evil, each point taking about 3 seconds of stalk to reach. When a survivor is stalked and they lose evil, certain effects will start happening. At the first quarter, the survivor that is stalked will lose their ability to hear Myers when Myers is near tier 3. This comes into what I was talking about earlier to help survivors know that a teammate is being stalked and to be on the lookout. This is actually a mechanic that was once in the game but never made it to a live iteration of the game. When Myers was near tier 3, a variation of The Hedge was played. Now, if you haven't been stalked, you will be notified. This way, the only person being punished is the oblivious survivor being stalked. I would say this would help survivors identify if Myers had tombstone, but, well, we'll get back to that add-on later. At the second tier, when Myers is chasing the individual that is being stalked, he will have an increased vault speed. I'm thinking like 10 or 15%. I haven't fully decided. It seems the devs have always wanted Myers to be really good with windows, but they won't fully commit to the bit. He only gets a significant vault buff in tier 3, but did you know Michael's vault is actually better in tier 2? It's just really, it's just slightly better than the average killer, but it's hard to notice. So I like the idea of going further in on this when chasing a survivor that is 2 quarters in. When Myers breaks a pallet or vaults a window while chasing a survivor at 3 quarters, Myers will gain 5% haste for 7 seconds. 10 seconds just feels too long, 5 seconds doesn't feel impactful enough, 7 just felt right to me. This will slightly help him with pallets, but once again, I want Myers to just feel really scary around windows. At core 3, Michael will also see the aura of the survivors for 1.5 seconds every 45 seconds. It feels very thematic for Myers to see auras of some kind after stalking for a long period of time. It would also help him a great deal since he's such a low mobility killer, but of course, he has to work to get this. At 4 quarters, Myers will gain the ability to tombstone, but only on death hook. If a survivor has all of their evil taken from them, when Myers is in tier 3, he will have the ability to tombstone the survivor, but once again, let me repeat, only on death hook. Meaning nobody will instantly be snatched away in a trial. This also means as an individual, that survivor has to mess up. They would have had to have been oblivious enough to have been stalked for 12 seconds and not done anything to have lowered their evil, so they're being punished for it. Not only that, but Myers will still have to be in tier 3 to do this Mori. Myers will also be able to see the survivor's aura for 3 seconds every 30 seconds. So let's go into the counterplay to this. Obviously, the counter to evil is altruism. So an act of altruism would help bring down a survivor's evil. Healing, unhooking, all of these things would bring down a bar of evil. Now, survivors won't know exactly how much evil has been taken from them until they're close to 4 quarters in. The reason for this being, if a Myers is doing a really good job at stalking from a distance and hiding himself, I don't feel the survivor should be notified the millisecond they go up a quarter. It would be too easy to avoid the shape stalking them. But once their evil is near the maximum amount, they will be alerted, possibly a soft red hue around their character portrait. Myers should be rewarded for being sneaky and stalking, not held back. I thought of the idea of possibly letting co-op actions also reduce evil, but I think that would make it almost too easy for survivors to lower evil and wouldn't equate to the work that Myers is doing, especially when the counterplay of just not feeding the Myers is already in the game. So giving altruism feels right and thematic. I want Myers to feel much more dangerous as the match continues. It also encourages survivors to help their team and give Myers a bit of passive gen slowdown, since they'll have further incentive to heal and not just instantly start rushing a generator. A few other changes around this rework. Myers will now activate tier ups through a prompt similar to Oni. This is very important to actually make these base changes function. Myers will still be allowed to stalk beyond his maximum capacity to build up evil on individual survivors. This makes stalking more important than ever and does add a layer of skill to Myers, managing stalk on several independent survivors and actively finding ways to approach undetected and gain evil. It'll be much more important to stalk all survivors, since Michael will be far more powerful for doing so. Myers can now once again stalk in tier 3, since individual stalk is important, and stalking in tier 3 would now have a purpose. And of course, the tombstone add-ons will be getting changed. The tombstone piece will allow the shape to tombstone a survivor at 3.5 quarters of evil. The shape will gain 3% haste when chasing a survivor with 3.5 quarters of stalk. To be moried, they will still need to be on death hook. I want the tombstone to keep their identity of murder the survivor, but of course it still needs to obey the new rules of death hook. Judith's tombstone will allow Myers to tombstone a survivor at 3 quarters of stalk. Myers gains 5% haste when chasing a survivor with 3 quarters of stalk taken. The survivor still has to be on death hook to be moried. Same idea with the tombstone piece, it's just an upgrade to it. Mirror Shard. All Mirror Shard add-ons now increase the length as to which Myers sees the passive auras of survivors he's stalked on top of what it does already. It wouldn't be much more 0.25 for the green and 0.5 a second for the blue. It's the aura stalking add-on, so I wanted to add on to that identity. The tacky earrings will allow Michael to return to tier 1 with 75% of his stalk intact. If Myers wants to go into complete sneaky mode again, this add-on will allow him to do so. The jewelry add-on will allow Myers to return to tier 1 with 85% of his stalk intact, and the jewelry box will allow Myers to return to tier 1 with 95% of his stalk intact. I want the jewelry add-ons to help give tier 1 more usage for people that want to play around this tier more, since it doesn't really do much, especially since there are other add-ons that only work in tier 1 and are pretty bad unless they're using them with Scratch Mirror. For people that would really just want to play a sneaky Myers, this is their add-on. A cool usage with these add-ons would be to stalk individual survivors, gain these small walk hacks from a distance, and return to tier 1. You're now playing a sort of different version of Scratch Mirror. I also didn't want to just make jewelry, like the final one, like 99% stock, because then you'd just be able to bounce between tier 1 and tier 2 like constantly. I feel like that would just be annoying, like Michaels would just spam the noise notification. The idea of Myers that I believe the devs were going for is that Myers starts the match weak, but by the end, he's a nightmare to deal with. With how Myers is right now, he's sort of plateaus like mid-match with no extra surprises, so I wanted to add that extra oomph. It's harder to be altruistic towards the end of the match, so by the end of the match, Myers would be much scarier, vaulting faster, speeding up, and gaining some passive information. but he has to still work for all of this and stalk individual survivors. If he neglects any of the survivors, then they will be notified every single time he's near tier 3, allowing them to be on the lookout for him, very heavily punishing unobservant survivors. While simple tiering up is still the same, Myers now has a reason to continue watching a survivor for long periods of time, which could lead to more immersive, movie-like moments. Also, something that would be pretty cool, and like the movies, is the visual rework. Something to put Myers much more in line appearance with the first film. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but a Halloween fan can dream. But that's how I would change Michael's base kit while also retaining his current identity, sort of modernizing it. I think it's a good balance of keeping Myers true to what he is, while also giving him some fun buffs to play around and giving survivors a few additional ways to play around him through hearing music cues and keeping evil down. What do you guys think? Do you think it would be fun? What would you change? I know a lot of people want like brutal strength and enduring added to him, stuff like that. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.